Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Pavement Week here on Revolutions Per Movie. And today we are talking to Michael Esper. Now, Michael is an actor who has appeared off and on Broadway in such plays as A Man for All Seasons, The Glass Menagerie, and Tony Kushner's The Intelligent Homosexual's Guide to Capitalism and Socialism with a Key to the Scriptures. He's also performed in musical stage productions such as Sting's The Last Ship, Green Day's American Idiot, and he's also appeared in movies such as Frances Ha and Beau's Afraid, as well as on TV shows such as Fallout, Ray Donovan, and Law and Order. But today we are here to talk to Michael about his time and performances in Slanted, Enchanted, a Pavement Musical, which is featured in the new Pavement documentary, Pavements. So it gives me great pleasure to fold into the continuation of Pavement Week on Revolutions Per Movie. Michael Esper. Hi, Michael.
Hey, hi. Good to be here.
So, Michael, I'm so excited to have you here because the first thing I ever heard about this documentary, Pavements, was about the musical.
Yeah.
Like, I really have a lot of questions about it, but like, as somebody who's done like a lot of musical stage work, where did you find out about this whole thing?
You know, like a phone call just came to me. Alex just called me out of the blue.
Okay.
He had talked to, I think he'd been talking to John Gallagher Jr. about it. You know, is another, like, he's an incredible actor and veteran of like musicals and lots of other stuff. And we'd worked together before. And I think Alex had talked to John Gallagher Jr. about it. And John was like, you know what? I know a guy who's a huge Pavement fan who you should talk to. And that was me. And he very kindly did that. And like, then Alex just called me up out of the blue and started talking to me about this, about the idea he had about the musical and the movie and stuff. And that was the first I'd ever heard about it.
Right. And Alex, who we had on the show last week, I mean, even Robert, who edits his films, is like, yeah, he's kind of a prankster.
Yeah.
So, you know, having someone like Alex write a script for a musical and kind of like, it's so weird because he walks that line between of, is this cynical or is this heartfelt?
Yeah.
And, he does say in the film that, this is a very, it's one of the most honest expressions. It's like just a very earnest way of expressing yourself is in musical theater.
Yeah.
Pavement has kind of a distance to their persona and the way you reach into their music.
Yeah.
It's
sure.
so weird. So okay, so you don't have to audition, but like, was it in terms of like putting it together, was there any tradition in it at all that you were familiar with?
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was kind of an abbreviated, crazy process, but it wasn't that different from like workshopping any other, piece of theater, really. The the questions about how it would be, I had no question that it would end up that the movie was going to be great and that Alice was going to do an amazing job. And honestly, like, I didn't really care. That question about like, is this going to be cynical? Like, am I and just like everybody else involved in the musical, are we just there to be made fun of? You know what I mean? Which I was like also game to do. Like I'll be made fun of for Pavement immediately. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay.
And also don't mind making fun of musicals along the way or whatever. But I knew the movie was going to be great, but I just had no idea how earnest his attempt to make like a good, like a quote unquote, like good musical was,
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what he wanted it to be, how serious he really wanted us to take it. But it quickly became evident through like talking and working with Alex in the process. Once we started working on it in rehearsals, that he wanted it to be incredibly earnest and really feel like a really earnest attempt at making like a Pavement musical with like the limited time and resources that we had at our disposal.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts because you only did 2 performances, right?
Yeah, I think we only did 2 for the public, and then we did 1 more for camera.
Okay, that
Yeah.
is so much work.
Yeah.
It's like the show's being shut down before, like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But we knew they were shooting the whole time, and yeah, it was well worth it.
Yeah, because it's also strange because I know a lot of friends who are actors and performers, and a lot of the things they'll do, because of the logistics and the legality of it, they don't get documented.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I was in this touring production of Mammoth, but I'll never get to see it or show you it,
Yeah.
And this was like the whole premise of the thing was to document it.
Yeah. Which is both good and terrifying. I mean, the whole
Okay.
thing. Because, it's just like, I mean, I keep talking about this, but like, like doing a musical is such an embarrassing thing to do. Like,
Okay.
there are musicals that I love so much, and I've loved doing some of them so much, but also at its core, it's such an embarrassing gesture. Like, there's something at the core of it that is so vulnerable and humiliating as much as it is like joyful and even when they're great, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're easy to misunderstand
Yeah.
because you go in and you love a band and you're already making a judgment before it starts of, is this going to be good enough for me? Is this going to be what I want?
Well, sure, yeah, especially if you're making something about something as beloved and cool as Pavement. Um, but yeah, there's something absurd. Like there's a kind of like absurd ask in the middle of the heart of a musical. You're like asking people to take this insane leap with you.
Sure.
And they're like, we're gonna like sing. I don't know, we're gonna like do all this crazy, we're just gonna like sing story to you and like tell this. I don't know, like what is happening in a musical,
Right. So is plot even important in something like this then? Because I do, so a lot of things I've seen, like I'm like, on the show we've talked about Tommy and other rock musicals, and you're like,
Yeah,
this is barely hanging together
yeah.
thematically and structurally as a story. It's all just
Right.
amazing music. And I believe you, Pete Townsend. You knew what you were doing, but there's a part of me that's like, it's really like just jammed in to make it work,
Yeah, yeah, I think like that is especially like the curse of the jukebox musical, where there's just like, oh, we just need to find some kind of narrative thread, no matter how thin, to just like hang all of these incredible songs on, and we'll do our best to make it as fleshed out as possible, but really it's just going to be barely hanging on there.
Right. So what
Yeah.
what I what was kind of the plot of Slanted, Enchanted, a Pavement Musical?
Yeah, it had a plot. It was like about this it had a plot that was like very sort of derivative of other kind of jukebox musicals, a very kind of like self-consciously, I think, generic sort of plot um of this like sing this like indie rock singer songwriter who's like leaves his home to like go to the big city, and he meets a girl and they fall in love, and then he meets another girl and that other girl and him break up, and then he's left with nothing, and
Right.
and it's sort of like that. But like the real story of the musical to me is I Love Pavement. It's like it's just like I love you, Pavement. I love you, I love you, I love you. Just like over and over again. And just like an excuse to play with the band and to play with those tunes and like to be a fan, to be like um just as earnestly and like devotedly a fan of the band as you possibly can, and love them in like the most like vulnerable, humiliating, ridiculous, like and way possible, and I was really into it in that aspect of it.
So was the music, you hear a bit of it in the movie, but it sounds like it was orchestrated. It's not the actual songs from
Yeah,
Pavement without the lyrics. It was like scored.
yeah, it was scored. It was scored. We had a recording of it, and it was scored and choreographed. I mean, everybody who worked on the musical was so amazing, and they did an incredible job with that score. The arrangements, were so particular, and the way one song would lead to another, and there were medleys, and it was really. I thought they really did an amazing job. It was really well done. You know.
Yeah, I read about like tap dancing Santas during
Yeah,
Gold
totally.
Sounds, and like there's ribbon
Yeah.
twirling, and
Yeah, but
shopping carts being ridden around. It's like it must be
yeah, and
so fun whether you're like just be like, hey, I got an idea. Let's try it. Let's get some shopping
yeah,
carts out and do.
yeah, fuck yeah, yeah, totally. Like Angela and Tanaya, the choreographers, were so awesome, and I think they like really caught the spirit of what and created. I think co-created the spirit of what I was trying to do. It's um like by turns, like ridiculous and sublime, and like that ensemble too was like those guys are so. Everybody who's in the ensemble of that musical are just like total professionals. Just like they're gonna throw
Yeah,
their like heart and souls and like all of their skill into anything, no matter how outrageous it is. And
right.
it was really beautiful to be on stage with them while they were doing that and to watch them doing that shit. It was crazy.
Yeah. So did you feel that the how many people in the production had a connection with Pavement when
Not
they
that
were
many.
cast?
Yeah,
Okay,
not that many.
that's what it seemed like, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of cool.
yeah,
Like it would be one thing if it was all you who would like know backwards and forwards and have a respect for it. But I think it's
yeah,
kind of beautiful to have something where it's like they're treating it like I'm trying to understand this thing I have no relationship to.
yeah, totally. I thought it was really beautiful too. They just came to it like they would come to any other kind of material, really, and they just
Yeah.
didn't know. Yeah, I mean, Zoe, Zoe Lister Jones and I both were like huge Pavement fans since since we were in high school or whatever, and so we had that sort of relationship to it, but nobody else. I don't think anybody else really.
Yeah.
And
It was
yeah,
interesting. I we had Spiral Stairs on last week. I asked him about the musical, and I said, "Do you feel like Pavement's music can transcend genre and tonality?" And he's like, I didn't think so, but after seeing it, I think yeah. He was like it made me listen to the lyrics totally different because he was so critical.
yeah,
At the time he'd be like, "Oh, that rhymes. That's cool." Like it was so Pavement the way they just even
yeah.
he was like, "Okay, yeah, you're trying to be Paul Westerberg here or whatever." It was so
Wow,
funny.
wow, that's amazing.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty fantastic that a member of Pavement was like, "Yeah, I kind of get it because I don't think on paper it's one thing, right? And then seeing
Yeah.
it's something else, but like also to be one of the people who made it, it's got to have a different resonance when you're seeing it."
Yeah, I mean, I was very scared of the band, and what they would think about it, even though, like, as long as they even if they hated it, as long as they hated it in the right way or whatever, I feel like that would be cool, you know?
I
But,
totally know.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, but, um, they were so nice. I think Mark, was the first person from the band who I saw come and check it out, and he was so cool and so nice, and, yeah, and it certainly made me like, I don't know, it was a different relationship. It changed my relationship to their songs and stuff. I don't know,
Yeah. Was
yeah.
there any song that you were like, "Oh, I wish they'd included this. I would have loved to gotten my fangs in this."
I mean, fuck, they did like 40 songs. It was like 40
What?
songs in like 80 minutes. It was insane. I feel like it was
Okay.
that many, so, it's hard for me to remember even like
So like
going back.
two and a half of their albums were covered.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. So it was pretty exhaustive.
do, do you think that like your friend could have called up and said, "Hey, you're in a Yola Tango musical. Oh, hey, you're in a musical by the Music of the Fall." Like, do you think this could have worked
Fuck.
for any other band?
Well, I think, I think what Alex was doing with the movie and with this particular musical was, I think, very self-consciously also like in conversation with jukebox musicals and that particular gesture. And so I do think that the way I think that like musicals as a form are really different now than they used to be. And they're it's a lot more of an open forum. And
Right.
you can do a lot of weird shit in a musical. Like I did this Bowie musical called Lazarus. And that shit was crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because that was one of his last projects besides Black Star.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was. yeah, it was really yeah, I really loved that so much. And yeah, it was wild as hell. I mean, I barely understood what was happening for a lot of that process. Like what the fuck is really going on? Like you just make decisions about it. But weirdly, it wasn't until after he passed away that and we learned that he had been so sick um that some of the stuff that was in the musical, some of that script started to really make sense in a different way or whatever. But that was a really bizarre, like really wild, unconventional um uh type of musical. And I think if you're willing to really take those kind of risks and really just try different things, like uh, I think any kind of music that's uh compelling could work, if you're I think so, yeah.
How many performances of American Idiot did you do?
Oh man, I don't know exactly the number. I did it for about 10 months on Broadway,
Okay.
and then we did other runs of it other places too.
I just want to ask you about, when you're in a band, you may perform a lot of the same songs every night,
Yeah.
but you do have the freedom to make mistakes and kind of like do a different gesture or maybe forget the lyrics or
Yeah.
say something in between that's not, it's like there's a freedom to it.
Yeah.
But are you in something like that you do for such a long period of time? Is there any freedom once the show is running to like keep working on the character or the moves, or is it pretty locked in? I've just always wondered, like when what I
Yeah.
see, like where is it at that point? Is it just done or is it still a work in progress?
Oh man, I mean, I think it's always a work in progress on some level.
Okay.
I mean, I think most musicals do get locked in pretty tight technically. They're just like it's the nature of the beast, especially if you're talking about like Broadway musicals. They're just machines, they just have to become these really well-oiled machines where people can kind of come and go from them, and you know and but within that sort of structure, there's always room to keep digging and trying to figure stuff out and get better and play with different things. And there has to be, or you go crazy. I mean, you go crazy anyway. Just repetition will just make you insane. I definitely went nuts.
Wow.
I definitely went nuts working on that show for that long. And that's not even that long. I mean, I know performers do much longer runs in Broadway musicals and just like happily do it. But I really went crazy. I did. But
Wow.
yeah, but yeah, yeah. There's always room to play around with different things and find different ways of doing things and try and dig deeper and you
Right.
know.
Was there something in the Pavement musical that you felt like you put your stamp on or that you were really proud of?
Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to watch. I'm so self-critical, and
Sure.
but it was a very special experience for me, and to be honest, like just to be in like Pavement and Matador and you guys, I mean, Guy Above Voice also, I mean, these were like huge deals for me and really like shaped me as like a musician and as an individual, shaped my taste and still s- have had such a big impact on how I think about music and writing and art and stuff and so to be in conversation with them in any way, even if it's in any way at all, it was really something to me. And my sister, um, when my sister was a little kid, I made her this tape of when one side was Slanted and the other side was Crooked Rain, and we played it out, and
Yeah.
and I was like, this is what music, this and this. And there was this moment when in the Pavement musical, she came to see it. And there was this moment in it, and I was really scared doing the musical because it was so crazy. And I was like, I
I
knew like
understand.
in order to do it in order to do it, I had to be really like, I was gonna have to, it's like part of the what was great about it was having to look really dumb, And I was sitting down, and there's this moment in the musical where I had to sit down on the edge of the stage, and I sang Grounded, right?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, and I looked out, and I locked eyes with my sister. It's very emotional for me, man. And I locked eyes with my sister, and she was just like, her eyes were like so big, and she was just giving me the best, like, like, I love you, energy so
Uh,
strong. And yeah, and we were just like, and it was like we were kids again, like singing, like she was like, "Can you believe this is happening?" From the
yeah,
audience. And that was a huge moment for me. And you know, I I won't be forgetting that anytime soon.
that's really beautiful. I mean, Pavement, yeah, meant the world to me too. And um, it was so funny when they first were around, just how easy it was to take for granted how great it was
Yeah.
because they were just there. They were kind of my age.
Yeah.
They weren't dressing up.
Yeah.
They seemed, like they cared and didn't care like the rest of us. And
Yeah.
and then it's just like, yeah, they may have only made 5 records and change, but like a pretty perfect run.
Yeah.
And that's a total rarity
Yeah.
in any art,
Yeah.
So I think it's really fascinating now that like it's gone beyond like the kids of parents who like Pavement. It's like people are discovering them on their own merits.
Yeah.
And I think the film is really interesting in the way that like just like Pavement, still you kind of take what you want from it. Like
Yeah.
they both Alex and Robert and Lance have said this is an objectively too much film. This is a kaleidoscopic look. It's going to frustrate some people. Other people are going to love it.
Yeah.
I'm really just glad I get to kind of break down some of this with you because
Yeah.
hearing about the musical was just one of the weirdest things I'd ever experienced about, underground music. I was like, what is going on?
I
Like,
know. I know. It's so funny. I
but it's
know.
but it's great because it
Yeah.
works in the film so well.
Yeah, it
Do you
does.
know if there's any, like, has Alex talked about like, oh, at some point we might be able to show more of this? Because I've seen a few documentary things this week that were kind of pulled from that weren't in the movie about the making of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. He hasn't said anything to me about it, but I know there's plenty of footage.
Well, I don't know. This is weird because so when I talked to Spiral and Robert, they were on each other because that there's a soundtrack coming out, right, of this.
Oh,
And they
no way.
said that it's going to be like if I'm reading this right, it's going to be a kaleidoscopic soundtrack
Oh
including
wow.
some of the material from what you were in.
That's crazy.
I know.
Well, if that happened, I would simply pass away. I would just pass away and die. It's already too much.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
already can't handle it.
But yeah, it was funny. They're like, "Oh, we got to finish it up. We really got to finish this." Like it was like they were like, "The movie's out.
Man.
We got to get
Oh
it
my
done."
God.
So,
Yeah, man. Alex did. He really was. I think what he did is so brilliant, man. I loved. I couldn't have been more like awed kind of by the movie. The massive amount of work and footage and like thinking, and I think the ideas in it are so great and like so appropriate to the band. And it's just like as a fan, it is absolutely like I love it as a fan. It's like you know, it really, yeah, he really hit it out of the goddamn park. Really good. It's also so funny to have that much like it also catches something about how much you would have to make up about bands when I was a kid.
oh, yeah, like Pavement were big. Like in my head, I was like,
Right.
Pavement are massive. Like they're on
Yeah.
Matador. They
Yeah.
played to lots of people. Everyone I
Yeah.
know has those records.
Yeah.
But the film opens with yeah, Pavement just didn't do anything and they broke up and no one cared. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, totally.
You're
And
like,
also, like, but also it was different. Like, I just didn't have access. You couldn't like go on YouTube and see a million videos of the band we loved.
no, no.
You know, like I had that Matador video tape.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, at the store.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so sick. You know,
yeah, it's great.
such a good video. It had that incredible Chavez video on it, and
Yeah,
had that Crossbone Style on it, and but like stuff like that. That was the only chance I really had, other than like going to see them,
right.
of any insight into like what this, even like the aesthetic or the identity, or like what was going on with these dudes who were these, like, or like zines and stuff. Like you had to really seek it out. It wasn't so accessible, and so you had to make up this kind of mythology along in collaboration with the information you had about those bands to flesh it out for yourself in any way. And that's what the movie, I feel like, partially catches so good.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know?
Yeah, because you still don't know who Mark Eibel really is after watching the film.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah.
Their message to Alex was, we just make it, but kind of keep your distance. We don't really want to be bothered. We don't want it to be like in our lives. But and they got that, and they got like an over 2-hour documentary that they're still involved in. But they got to keep their peace. And in the end, you're kind of like, yeah, like what? I need to like see like some like documentary footage of like Mark when he was a child and where he went to school and how he discovered music. It's not that film. And Alex and Robert and Lance were like, you've seen enough of those. This is the perfect band to do something that is that, you know, it's almost like, I mean, you know, Alex, but I felt like Alex was really like, I hate documentaries. I hate music documentaries, and I want to destroy one. So here we go.
Yeah. And which is also, I felt like how I always felt like sort of Pavement was about rock bands.
Right.
That they were like, I hate rock bands. I hate rock singers. I hate this shit.
Yeah.
And then we've come to destroy it. You know, and
they hate their own set list. You know,
I know, totally, definitely. Yeah, I know, it's so good. God damn.
I don't know. I think I'm more mystified than ever of what just went down with this musical, but I appreciate you spending the time to kind of unlock some of it, because musical theory to me is still weird. Like it is.
So me too.
So I appreciate it, all your insights into it. But at the end of every episode, I ask the same question, but I tailor it depending on what we're talking about. So on a scale from 4 being the lowest to 24 being the highest, how many tap dancing Santas to Pavement song Gold Sounds do you give Slanted, Enchanted, a Pavement musical? On a scale of 4 tap dancing Santas to 24 tap dancing Santas to Gold Sounds.
Listen, I'm gonna give it like a cool 18 Santas. You know, like there's so many more. We didn't have a lot of time. We just needed more time. We feel like we could have we could have hit hard.
Oh, you know? I love it. 18 is the right answer. It's perfect. Oh my God. Good. That was maybe my favorite answer anyone's ever given me on anything I've thrown at them. Just, oh my God. Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Really.
Thank you so much. Really, such a pleasure, man.
Thank you for listening to Revolutions Per Movie. We release new episodes every Thursday on your favorite podcast app, and additional bonus episodes every Sunday on our Patreon. The show's a completely independent affair, so the best way to support the show is through our Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionspermovie, where you can get weekly bonus episodes and shows, exclusive limited edition flexi discs and records and CDs featuring guests that have appeared on the show, and other exclusive goods sent to you just for joining. You can follow us on social media at Revolutions Per Movie, and also find out more information about our various guests in the episode show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye!